Hey everyone, welcome back to Review Lens. Today we're diving into a vampire classic you might not have seen yet, the 1974 TV movie Dracula, directed by Dan Curtis and starring none other than Jack Palance as the iconic Count Dracula. If you're a fan of Gothic horror or just curious about different takes on this legendary character, stick around, because this one's worth talking about. Let's get into it. This version of Dracula was made for TV back in 1974. Yup, it was never intended for the theater. That might sound like a budget limitation, but honestly, it's more impressive than you'd expect for a television movie from that time. Dan Curtis, who's known for creating the horror soap opera Dark Shadows, directed this adaptation. You can definitely see some of that moody Gothic influence throughout the film. What makes this movie stand out right away is Jack Palance as Dracula. Palance was mostly known for playing tough, rugged characters in westerns and action films. Remember, Palance played Jack Wilson, the very cool gunfighter in Shane. Seeing him step into the role of a vampire might seem unusual at first, but trust me, he brings something intense and memorable to the character. His version of Dracula is not the charming, suave figure you might be familiar with from actors like Frank Langella or Christopher Lee. Instead, Palance plays the Count as a fierce, almost animalistic predator. He's got this commanding presence that makes every scene with him feel dangerous. You really believe this guy could tear you apart without a second thought. One of the things that stood out to me was how physical his performance is. There's this raw, aggressive energy to Palance's Dracula that makes him genuinely scary. He doesn't just float around looking mysterious. He's a force to be reckoned with. This movie adaptation sticks fairly close to Bram Stoker's novel, but also adds a twist that was pretty unique for the time. The movie suggests that Dracula's obsession with Lucy is because she's the reincarnation of his long-lost love. This idea of a tragic romantic Dracula was later used in other adaptations, like Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula in 1992. The love story element makes Dracula a more sympathetic villain in some ways. You almost feel bad for him. Almost. Until he starts attacking people, of course. It's an interesting balance between horror and tragedy. Visually, this movie does a great job of creating a spooky, Gothic atmosphere. The sets are dark and moody, with creepy castles, fog-covered landscapes, and shadowy interiors that feel straight out of a nightmare. For a TV movie, the production values are pretty strong. Now, I'll be honest, the movie isn't perfect. The pacing can be a bit slow, especially in the middle. Some scenes feel like they drag on longer than they need to, and you might find yourself getting a little restless, waiting for the next big scene. Another downside is that the supporting characters don't get as much development as they do in other versions of Dracula. Van Helsing, Jonathan Harker, and Mina are all here, but they don't leave much of an impression. The focus is very much on Dracula and his connection to Lucy. So, is this version of Dracula worth watching? I think so, especially if you're a fan of vampire stories or Gothic horror. Jack Palance's performance alone makes it worth checking out. He brings a raw intensity to Dracula that's different from any other version I've seen. If you're looking for big action scenes or modern special effects, this probably isn't the movie for you. But if you appreciate atmospheric storytelling and a fresh, take on a classic character, you'll find a lot to enjoy here. Thanks for watching. If you've seen this version of Dracula or plan to watch it, let me know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss any future reviews, and save us a balcony seat. See you on the next one.